Support for Exploring the American Spirit is provided by Sassy Shears, Riverside Salon, Spa, and Boutique, where clients can spend an hour or an entire day. Hair, nails, skincare, and massage for adults and children. More online at sassyshears.com.
Hello, I'm Mary Parks. American spirit. Say those words and many images come to mind. You may think of heroic acts in times of tragedy, a person or an entire family that overcomes adversity. In reality, selfless acts by ordinary individuals that help others take place every day in every part of our country. They aren't likely to make the headlines, but their impact is just as real, and the effect on our communities is just as powerful. At Exploring the American Spirit, we're going to take a look at some of the phenomenal accomplishments done by people who saw a need and found a way to meet it. I'll be your guide on this incredible journey, so pull up your chair and relax as we explore the American spirit. Ava Hata is 11 years old. She's a type A personality. Outgoing, witty, straight-A student who rarely has homework. Most days she manages to finish it all at school. Ava is also a type 1 diabetic with a mission to help others understand her illness.
In this case, I was given this gift and I needed it to educate other people about this.
Type 1 diabetes can occur at any age. It's an autoimmune disease in which a person's pancreas stops producing insulin. Insulin is needed to move blood sugar into cells where it is stored for energy. When the beta cells produce little or no insulin, type 1 diabetes emerges. Type 1 diabetes has nothing to do with diet or lifestyle, and it cannot be prevented or cured.
It's very serious, and it's a chronic illness that can take these kids' lives. It can take their sight, their limbs. There's a very large prevalence of depression with it, and parents aren't equipped. Parents aren't equipped to take their child home with all of those things.
Were you?
Absolutely not.
Ava is among more than 1 million Americans living with type 1 diabetes and one of roughly 200,000 children with the disease. Yet she maintains a sense of humor as she faces her challenges with courage and perseverance, an example of the American spirit.
And there's a lot of things we want to say to people, but we can't. And that's hard for a kid. I mean, when people come up to me and say, "Do you exercise?" I really want to say, if exercise cured diabetes, I would have a bike surgically attached to my butt. But you don't say it to people. You say, no, that's an autoimmune disease. It won't regenerate your pancreas, So we kind of have to educate people without saying that.
Diabetic alert assistance dogs have been around roughly 10 years, almost as long as Ava has been alive. This is Bruin. Ava named him after her favorite team, the UCLA Bruins. He's a year old and a flat-coated retriever. Bruin has been trained so that his highly sensitive nose can identify the chemistry changes in Ava's blood sugar levels. Bruin will tug at a bringsel attached to Ava's jeans.
Good low. Good low. Good low. Good low.
Ava, obviously wise beyond her years, says it was she who learned from Bruin.
Actually, the dog taught me how to train diabetic alert dogs and how to be patient, because that's one of the things that I had a hard time with. And it just taught me how to learn from the dog and how to communicate with the dog without speaking in these different situations, and how to deal with people. The communities are very important. If you don't have a support system, you don't have anything.
Every day before and after school, Ava works with Bruin on his obedience, blood sugar detection techniques, and how to get the attention of other adults. Ava's mother, Rebecca Hatta, says statistics indicate the disease is increasing and more prevalent among children, which is why the family believes more dogs need to be trained right away.
It's actually growing. The number of kids that are being diagnosed is growing in a pretty rapid pace. It's very scary. What's disconcerting to me is a lot of our medical doctors think it's the flu, and they send these kids home, and these kids go home and they die.
Okay, why do you think the numbers are going up?
I think it's an environmental problem. I really do. I think there's something that is triggering it.
The food we eat, maybe? Or
I don't know about the food. I think it may be chemical. I really don't know. I think it could be a variety. I think it could be vaccines, it could be food, it could be GMOs. All sorts of things I think can be the trigger. I certainly don't know, and I just know that people need to know this is a serious possibility when your child is vomiting and showing signs of lethargy, blurry vision.
is that what happened in Ava's case?
Yeah, it was interesting. Ava was 18 months and she was a very, very easygoing kid, very happy. And I saw a change in her. My sister was out from Rhode Island, and Ava was kind of more aggressive than she normally is. She would kind of hit and cry a lot and kind of put herself on the floor. And I thought, oh, she's not getting the attention she normally does. But what really tipped me off was that she was going through her diaper 4 and 5 times a night. And I thought, no, this isn't right. She couldn't get enough to drink. She just wasn't herself. She would have moments where she would kind of come alive, but for most of the day, she was very lethargic. She'd lost weight, and I knew something was wrong.
Classic symptoms.
Totally. I just didn't know. I didn't know what those symptoms were. I didn't know what to look for.
Type 1 diabetes strikes both children and adults at any age. It comes on suddenly, causes dependence on injected or pumped insulin for life, and carries the constant threat of devastating complications.
Okay, this is called an insulin pump. It gives insulin every 5 minutes through a port called a cannula that's inserted into our skin. If I eat carbs, perhaps, then we have to look on the back of it and see how many carbs is in the food and put it in here, and then it tells us how much to give me. And
you mean like bread and
yes.
spaghetti?
Yes, I can have everything. I just have to give insulin for it. We try to avoid being high, which means that I've had too much sugar in my body. So then insulin brings that down, and I'm at a healthy blood sugar level if it works, and I'm in a range of usually in the hundreds. You don't want to be above 200.
These are the tools, as Ava calls them, that she carries with her everywhere. A meter to test her blood sugar, along with paper test strips, something she must remember to do each day.
Every 2 hours we test my blood sugar to make sure it's at a healthy level.
What if you forget?
That's one of the problems what we have. That's why a lot of people use alarm clocks. We use watches. We use anything we can because it's hard to remember everything and anything that we have to do. So you're going to prick yourself wherever. Some people do it on their arm. I do it on my finger.
The meter has to communicate with the blue device, an insulin pump, to administer the correct dose of insulin to Ava.
It just told me to give myself a unit of insulin because it can calculate how much insulin I need in my body to bring that blood sugar down.
Unlike other kids, Ava has to check her blood sugar at least 10 times a day. Everything she eats is measured and every carbohydrate counted. Ava carries her insulin kit with her to school, and soon she'll be the first student on her campus to be accompanied by Bruin, her diabetic alert dog.
Everybody starts off with shots, and whatever you eat, whenever you check, you give yourself a shot if you're high. You treat if you're low, and for every food, you give yourself another shot. So the pump was actually a really life changer for us because I liked, every kid would like to eat pretzels or an apple. So when I was like, oh, okay, I want pretzels, give myself a shot. Then I wanted an apple, then we'd have to do 2 shots in a 5-minute period, which I didn't like, and nobody really likes that. So we did 10 to 12 shots a day or more, depending on my numbers and what I wanted to eat.
But you're 11. That's a lot to remember.
Yeah, it's a lot. If my pump was not working today, we would have to do a shot. My pump is actually working great today, and we will probably change it tomorrow. We change it every 3 days to make sure it's running properly.
And your pump is connected somewhere in your body?
Yes, you can go, a lot of people like their arm, their thigh, up lower back. Sometimes I've seen people stomach, and sometimes people put it in the middle of their chest, or lower chest, but those are like the bodybuilders who they can't hit stuff with. And a lot of the athletes put theirs on their arm so it doesn't hurt anything. I do it on my lower back.
Living with diabetes is a constant challenge. The Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation is aggressively driving research toward a cure. Rebecca Hatta is part of that movement. She started something called T1 Mod Squad, which stands for Type 1 Mothers of Diabetics. It's a Facebook group for parents to share the latest information and get support.
It's given me a place to have a platform to help other people and really try to support one another in what's really one of the most horrific times of your life. There's nothing that I have been through in my life that's been more gut-wrenching than somebody saying your child has a disease that there is no cure for.
Mod Squad, T1D Mod Squad is a nonprofit where people can come for support, ask questions with different, MOD stands for Mothers of Diabetics. So they can ask those mothers what they do. If there's newly diagnosed people, we can tell them, oh, in this situation you can do this or that. And in some cases that has saved a lot of kids from being misdiagnosed.
And so what do you hope to do? Just keep spreading the word?
Yes. That's our goal. People come up to me all the time, you can't eat that. Or try eating cinnamon or herbal remedies. And you just look at them and you can't really say anything to them. Because in certain predicaments, I can't sit there for 20 minutes talking to people with my dog, and there's millions of them. So in order to have a global teaching about this, it needs to be spread quickly so people can understand that this is life-threatening. This isn't type 2 diabetes. This isn't life remedy. This isn't us. This isn't our fault. We were just given this for some odd reason.
Bruin is the unsung hero in this little girl's life. He's been called a canine ambassador in her community. He's also a lover of hot dogs, cheese, and playing on the trampoline. In the short time they've been together, Bruin has already alerted Ava too many times to count that her life was dangerously close to catastrophe. The day we met Ava and Bruin, they were visiting with Bo, Bruin's uncle, also a diabetic alert assistance dog. His handler, Kathy Hughes, is a type 1 diabetic like Ava.
Dogs can detect low blood sugar or high blood sugar from a distance. They can. It's an energy thing. It's a chemical thing on some levels, but if their person is out of range, they still know what's going on. And that is a divine way of being. And that is what, if a person is connected with their animal, the way that so many do, and are aware of it and walking awake, they will build that connection. And that connection will bring to them miracle after miracle after miracle.
It's been a journey of watching both of my kids learn incredible compassion, learning how to navigate a world that they aren't always welcome in, because they're not perfect in the world's eyes, whatever that means. They've learned to embrace other kids that may have totally different chronic illnesses, but they're like, I get you. I got you. It's different. Your journey's different than mine, but you're on your own. And it's a community that has grown very close to our hearts, I would say.
Ava says she and Bruin were simply meant to be together.
This isn't a regular job. This isn't where you go to school to be
like a veterinarian.
Right, right. It's not like that. You have to be in that place where you have to learn to do this. And I was in the right place at the right time, and I'm supposed to train these dogs.
Grateful for the community support she has, Ava wants to give back, typical of the American spirit, by training diabetic dogs for other children with type 1 diabetes.
The dog is an educator. It's a lifesaver and an educator. It has multiple jobs that it needs to do in its lifetime, and it somehow can fit those in. That's why Bruin is a big part of this whole thing. And I started my own page and website because I needed this, and Mod Squad helped raise awareness in our group, ourselves. And we have contact systems on our website, Team Ava and Bruin website. We have our own contacts, we have our own page, and I want to reach people by that, because when I'm older, I will be educating and I will be training service dogs. So that will be my job when I grow up. Come on, Butter. Sit. Good boy.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, maybe you got the tomatoes. What about that?
Yeah.
Stanley and Rose Mutunga were born and raised in Kenya, East Africa. They came to America as college students. Both are now distinguished educators in California and say they are passionate about many things in their lives: their 3 grown children, their teaching careers, and their culture, such as preparing traditional foods for their family.
You normally cook? We cook something called chapati, and the chapati goes with a stew. You put the stew, you put the beef or chicken and the tomatoes and potatoes and the carrots. You combine them and the meat.
So just like stew here?
Yeah,
That's
like
true.
stew here. And the
Chapati is like a tortilla.
It looks like a tortilla.
Actually, we may have one.
But perhaps their biggest undertaking is the passion they share about making a difference in the lives of AIDS orphans and other orphaned and vulnerable children, families, and communities in their homeland.
We are giving back. We've been fortunate to be where we are, and we are giving back to the community.
For Stanley, giving back became a calling after the loss of not one, but 2 brothers to AIDS in Kenya.
One of my brothers left a sick wife and 8 kids. And all the kids were below the college level. And the other brother left a wife and 4 kids. So between my 2 brothers, my wife and I found ourselves taking care of 12 additional kids. They remained in Kenya. We were already here in the US, but we were providing for their financial support from here. And so out of that family tragedy, we became exposed to the impact of HIV/AIDS.
In fact, 700 people a day were dying of AIDS in Kenya. Victims of the disease could not be buried fast enough.
Making caskets or coffins was the booming business because people were burying their dead Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Something that I had not seen growing up as a young kid. And so if you would, this became a calling. I was a college professor and dean of a graduate school here in the US, but I just felt my heart being tagged to do something beyond helping my immediate family.
From that family tragedy, the Mutungas created their own nonprofit organization they call Tumaini. It's a Swahili word meaning hope. Tumaini International started out very small. Since 2002, it has grown to include 3,000 people in Southern California. They partner with community and church groups, businesses, and individuals around the globe who want to reduce the suffering caused by AIDS and poverty. Together, residents of many small communities are creating hope in Kenya.
And empower children to rise out of their own personal tragedies
and to move forward confidently, knowing that they are cared for and loved. Through child sponsorships, college tuition programs, socioeconomic development programs, and other sustainable initiatives, many Tumaini children have gone on to receive an education at international universities, receiving government jobs in Kenya and beyond.
I feel like my life in a golden platform where I've never dreamed to be, and therefore I give my vote of thanks to all the sponsors in Tumaini, and I can say that I have known that God really cares for me.
So we began to sponsor kids who had lost their parents, either one or both parents, to AIDS. And so initially Tumaini was basically doing child sponsorship.
And you and your wife started this?
We did, yes. We founded this, my wife and I.
Rose Mutunga's eyes fill with tears when she described to us what she calls her project from the heart.
When this mother started dying, my kids were small. And I could imagine me dying and leaving the kids without anybody. So it was really not, it touched me so much that I felt like, yeah, it can be me. It can be me, and that made it a difference. Because when I go to these kids, they call me mommy. And it breaks my heart. My heart when I'm in Kenya, I'm broken because you go to these families, you cry. Because this is a young kid, even a very young kid, who is cooking, who is going to fetch water, who is doing everything which I never did when I was young. And I'm like, I'm going to leave this food here and I don't know. And now you go home with that. It has been really a blessing and a hard thing for me as a mother.
When they see you arrive, what is that like?
I can't explain what that is like, because you can see them. They call me Mama Rose. You go to Kenya and I'm like, oh yeah, Mama Rose, the big one and the small ones, and I'm like, oh yeah.
So Mama Rose, do their faces light up when they see you? Yes?
Yes, they do. They do. They feel like they have a hope. And those who are like teenagers who get to know me and who are open and talk with them, you can tell they feel like, okay, this is the mother, this is the mom I never had. And I feel so humbled and privileged to have that opportunity. I don't know why God put me on those shoes.
Since 2002, too-my-EE-nee has helped change the lives of nearly 2,000 AIDS-orphaned children by providing food, clothing, medical care, and a place to stay, sometimes with extended family or a caring neighbor. A big part of too-my-EE-nee is education. In fact, too-my-EE-nee just opened its first boarding high school for girls in 2015 in the southeastern part of Kenya and is building the same signature high school for boys. Beyond that, they've set up a college scholarship fund to once again provide hope for the AIDS-orphaned youth. For most of the Kenyans in East Africa, seeing a doctor or dentist is out of the question. Hospitals are far away and very expensive. The Mutungas exemplify an American spirit. They saw a need and found a way to fulfill that need by building the region's first walk-in medical clinic.
The medical clinic, initially we built it to cater for our kids because some of our kids are also HIV positive. In fact, right now we have about 100 kids out of 1,100 that we are currently sponsoring. We have about 100 of them who are HIV positive. So we built our medical clinic primarily to cater for our kids, but it has also become a major medical center for the region, for the community, because there are not very many good medical facilities. And so we charge them something small, the community, but it has become really a beacon of hope for the community in terms of meeting medical needs.
Tumaini's gift of hope also comes in the form of socioeconomic development. Mutunga's organization provides job training like tailoring, greenhouse farming, grain milling, and poultry raising.
You empower that child, through education, and maybe the child goes to college, they are able to support themselves. But we are talking about an area where majority of the people still earn less than $2 a day. So if you can go to the community and actually introduce microloans and other ways that you can empower communities through socioeconomic development programs, we do those as well. One of the things we strongly believe in is that we cannot do it alone. We rally people in Kenya who have financial ability to get involved, and so we have a number of Kenyans in Kenya who support this work. But we have a lot of friends in the US, and a lot of them have gone to Kenya to actually see what we do. We organize things we call vision trips every summer. The whole point is we don't just want to give stuff away. We want to work with people who are already doing something for themselves. And that has been really going very well, working with the groups, seeing women groups coming from one level of socioeconomics to the next. The whole point is that if you work with the CBOs and they are able to address their own poverty issues, long term, you will not need to support their kids because they can support themselves.
True.
And so that's why we don't believe in just dishing things away. We encourage them to work, and then we come alongside and help.
Nearly 4,000 Californians statewide support Tumaini, with many traveling to Kenya on the vision trips to lend a hand. Mere grit and determination to make a difference, another example of the American spirit in action.
We hope you felt the time you invested in watching today's story was worthwhile. It's a privilege for us to bring you these examples of the American spirit. Some will touch and inspire you more than others, but they all in their own way contribute to the fiber and well-being of our communities. We are humbled by the people we meet and are always amazed at what they can accomplish, often by mere grit, determination, and perseverance. That's the American spirit. Join us next time for another stop on our journey exploring the American spirit. I'm Mary Parks.